What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bodacious Rant. Hope everybody's doing great. It's now the summer. We're feeling the heat. Sun shines out. Doesn't stop me. Doesn't help that I go to the beach at all. I just go to the movies, so I'll still stay pale. Unfortunately, I got to break that cycle and just get red like a lobster and just crisp. But anyways, we are not talking about that. We are talking about a spin-off from a very recently popular horror franchise written by John Krasinski, who's pretty hilarious in The Office. And if you haven't guessed it yet from the title and all that stuff, we are talking about the newest movie, Quiet Place Day One, which stars Lupita Nyong'o, Joseph Quinn, who is in the most recent season of Stranger Things, which is like got him up to stardom, even though he's been in stuff here and there. But he was great in this. And Jamon Hunsu is returning from this. He was in the Quiet Place Part 2. And yeah, this is a non-spoiler review, everyone, so please do not forget to give us a like if you do like the video. Ring the bell to stay up to date for notifications, and of course subscribe just to keep joining the base. We appreciate you all and just want to keep ranting for you for the rest of 2024, which is crazy. It's already over, or halfway over, but that's just how time works. Anyways, so kind of like the way Quiet Place Part 2 started off. Spoiler if you haven't seen that, sorry, but it has been out for 3 years, so get with it. Where it kind of shows John Krasinski and his family's point of view in their part of the world. I want to say they lived in like a small town somewhere in the Midwest or the East Coast. I think like East Coast, where everybody's living their lives, especially, and then shit happens. So this comes from Lupita Nyong'o's character, who she lives in New York. She's out with some friends and stuff like that. And then in the middle of the day, all you see the meteor shower hit, and this is definitely a little bit more intense than the last two because it's in a very metropolitan. It's in New York, where the other ones were in like random places, so they had to build up suspense and stuff that way. This one was just strictly of like, you have to do everything you can to survive in the city because there's glass, there's metal, rocks, there's everything going around. Anything could create sound. So, and that's where she runs into Joseph Quinn, and they are just literally trying to survive and navigate this new world that the aliens have set for them. So, yeah, this was one of those movies I remember hearing about when Quiet Place Part 2 came out, and that's kind of when John was like, I'm not going to be a part of that one. He may do Part 3. That's kind of up in the air, I think. So I had no intention of thinking this was going to be a good movie. I thought this was just going to be a money grab by the studio, but I was delightfully surprised by it. I would thought this was very good, a very intense movie, and Lupita Nyong'o and just Joseph Quinn were such a great pairing. I couldn't conceive that. Bern, what did you think of this movie?
I mean, yeah, like you, I was also kind of like hesitant coming into this one just because of all the factors that you just mentioned. John Krasinski not being as involved as he was in the first two. The director in this one is, now that I know who it is, I should have expected it to be as good as it is Michael Sarnowski. So it's like, okay, it's one of those that it could kind of go either way. Is it one of those that the kind of the studio wants, or is it something that kind of like they conceived of like naturally, just to kind of give us the backstory of the way that these things played out in this universe? Because that was one of the cool things about the Quiet Place movies, where outside of of course the beginning section of the part 2, that one's, like you mentioned, very focused, very keen in on John Krasinski and his family. We don't know really what happened in the outside world and how everybody sort of reacted to this in alien invasion, essentially. So kind of getting into that, and then also, like you mentioned, setting it in a city, like one of the loudest places like you can be in, makes for like a really interesting concept. But it was just, how's the execution going to be in this movie? And like you, I'm very delightfully surprised that this one actually turned out as well as it did. It was one of those things where coming into it, I thought they were going to try to make it like a big blockbuster action movie and lose all the heart, like a lot of I think a lot of franchises tend to do when it comes to these things, because the novelty of the horror movie things, and especially with the creatures, it's like once you see them, they start being less scary. So I thought it was kind of interesting that with this movie they sort of take like an aliens approach to it. Within that one, and the first Alien, the xenomorph, you only have one of them, and that's kind of the horror. You're stuck in this small place, and that's kind of how Quiet Place was. You only have like one or two of the monsters in there, and this one, the horror comes from there being just hordes of them. Like them just in countless numbers, and what does that do to the environment? So I thought that was a really cool sort of like homage to Aliens, where we have these monsters here that react to sound, but there's like thousands of them, and how does that work in a city environment? I thought they executed on that really well. But the thing I thought that really took me by surprise, and was the thing that left me really enjoying the movie, was the character moments between Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn. I wasn't expecting this movie to have as much heart as it did. These two characters, very very different in the way that they act, and how each one sort of influences and supports the other, and they're both trying to struggle to survive and make it through the city alive. I thought just the moments between them were so touching and very unexpected, even though kind of should have expected, because the first Quiet Place has a pretty good amount of heart, the second one less so, but that does also have its moments, but this one really brought it back down to just human interactions, and just that the will to keep going, and supporting one another to just make it another day. And I thought they executed on that fantastically well. And of course, the performances and the way they're written just kind of all mesh together to make this really great human story, and in my opinion at least.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. It definitely focused on the characters itself, because I think the writing team and the director was like, we can't capitalize on what has already done the first two. Like, we already know the monsters, we know the situation. So yeah, it was just the smartest way to go about it, is work on the characters and the stories, and just a different setting. Like, they really focus on that kind of situation. I think it benefited the best, because I have seen, because like how you said with other franchises and other spin-offs, sometimes they'll focus on one factor of it, like the monsters mostly, and kind of try and expand on them to a point where it's like, okay, well, this just kind of took the novelty out of it, so why should we care at this point? This one, actually, in my opinion, this movie made me realize how scary and horrifying this world would be. Definitely not a scenario you would imagine yourself, like, oh, what if The Walking Dead would have happened, or all this stuff. It's like, no, this is definitely one you don't want to be in. And just, yeah, Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn, they killed it. Like, they had some really great emotional moments, and just great, they were really able to feed back off each other, or feed off each other really well. So I enjoyed every minute of it, and I feel like I've been giving this a lot lately, but I'm gonna give this one a hard 4 out of 5, just because I had some genuinely tense building moments. It wasn't there. There were some jump scares. Don't get me wrong, but it's horror. Like, it's kind of hard not to have those anymore. But this is definitely very well done. It brings you back into the Quiet Place, and kind of, while it feels familiar, it still feels fresh and new. So I definitely recommend this for IMAX, Dolby. It's a great summertime film for everyone.
I mean, yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said. The emotional core of this movie is really strong, as I mentioned. But yeah, even the moments of action and tension were really great. Some really good tense moments throughout this movie. That had my heart racing for sure. And just by conception, this series is kind of a jump scare series, because of the whole very quiet and then boom, loud noise and stuff. And that's the thing that I usually hate, with a lot of horror movies. But for some reason with this series, it like really works for me. I can only think of one scare in this movie that felt cheap. All the other ones were really great uses of tension, and I thought that they handled that horror aspect really well. So yeah, for people who are looking for just like a scare fest, this is going to be a good one to check out, and it coming out like right in the summer. Hopefully it does pretty well. But yeah, I mean, I thought this movie was really really good. I'm very surprised by it. I gotta go through my lists here, to see where these movies that we've seen so far this year have landed. But I wouldn't be surprised if this one's pretty high up there, because I did really really enjoy my time with this one. So for me, this is also going to be a 4 out of 5. Surprisingly, I've been giving a lot of 3s, but this one just I think it was just the human aspect of it that I really really latched onto, and left me really enjoying myself, and thinking about this movie after it ended. So yeah, it's a high recommend for me.
Good. I'm glad we agree a lot. And then when the times we don't, it hurts. But I'm glad you got on my side with this, Bernie. Thank you very much for that. For those of you who did happen to catch this last weekend, please let us know what you thought of it in the comments. We love to keep the conversations going and just get everybody's thoughts on it. Finally the month is here with Deadpool and Wolverine coming out, even though it's the end of the month, but it's like it's fine. Just a little bit longer to wait. The Bear's back. The Boys I think is kind of getting close to wrapping up soon. The Acolyte's still going strong, and of course House of the Dragon. So got a lot of good stuff to keep us going through the summer. Until next time, everyone, just stay bodacious. Oh my God, I can't talk. Stay bodacious and keep on ranting for us.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and as always, we'll catch y'all on the next one.